All right, so the title of the talk is indeed too good to be true, exploring the ecosystem of cryptocurrency giveaway scams. And this is probably the most Web 2E talk you will see in a Web 3 summit. But it's a very interesting, effectively, ramp that attackers are abusing between Web 2 and Web 3. So I'm an associate professor at Stony Brook University. Stony Brook University is located in Long Island, New York. And we do a lot of research on the traditional web security and privacy. So we work on online tracking, DNS security, trying to understand who is registering domains, if they're doing anything bad with them, web application fingerprinting. Can we actually passively and ethically say something about a remote host and the software stack it is running? Look at mobile browser security. Is there anything in mobile browsers that makes them different than regular browsers, desktop browsers? And can attackers abuse these? Attack surface reduction for web applications. Can we take large web applications and shrink them down to a set of features that users need, but get rid of all the vulnerabilities in the code that they don't need? We work with honeypots and deception. So pretty much setting up infrastructure that allows attackers to break into it and then learn things about them. And then anti-bot technologies. Can we actually build tools and techniques to differentiate between regular users and bots on the web? And that's a picture there, a relatively recent picture of me and my students. So if you think about the last 20 years, if you were around, let's say in 2000s, early 2010s, drive-by malware was a real threat. So if you were just landing on the wrong website at the wrong time, there was a very good chance that your browser would seemingly crash and you would be infected with something. And these were called drive-by downloads because you didn't really have to do anything to get that malware other than just visiting that wrong website at the wrong time. And this was because browsers were very buggy, right? And they are massive. Today they're even more massive than they used to be back in 2010. And so there would be a lot of low-level vulnerabilities that attackers would exploit either in the core of the browser or in the plugins that you had installed. However, browsers have matured a lot since then. So today, your typical modern browser, it's using heavy sandboxing technology so that a single buffer overflow will not infect you with malware. The teams behind them, they do a lot of vulnerability discovery, among others using fuzzing to find out these bugs and fix them before attackers in the wild find them. And then you have an entire community that is effectively acting as code reviewers or penetration testers for these browsers, right? And so they can responsibly disclose them and potentially get paid for these vulnerabilities. And so this has actually shifted because now drive-by downloads are very difficult. This has shifted the attention of attackers away from these automated attacks into user-assisted attacks, right? Because if I, as an attacker, if I can infect your machine via a different method that's actually easier for me, then I'm just going to use that path of least resistance. And so effectively, we're talking about social engineering. So if the browser itself is secure, we can just target the user behind the browser. And social engineering refers to all the ways and techniques that attackers use to get users to behave in ways that is against their interests. And there is a whole catalog of psychological tricks that effectively attackers use. So there is a sense of urgency, do this now or something bad will happen, right? Appeal to authority. I am this very important person in your organization. I am the government. You need to do this right now or there will be consequences. Or potentially playing to the user's greed, which is what we will see today, through fear of missing out approaches, right? If you don't act in the next 10 minutes, you will lose out on this great thing that with life-changing consequences. And so if we think about classic social engineering attacks, we have the textbook phishing, right? Where people will just set up sites looking like fake banks, fake PayPals, fake Dropboxes, and try to steal your credentials. Then we have a later evolution of these, which came to be known as technical support scams, right? So you land on the wrong website, the site tells you that you're infected with something, but it can't infect you automatically anymore. So you need to act upon this. Call this toll-free number. We will get our tech support experts to look at your computer and see if you're infected. You're actually giving access to attacker to infect you through that fake tech support session. And then fake plugins for streaming pirated movies, right? Again, being on the wrong website at the wrong time, and then going through motions that you shouldn't be going to get access to something for free. So this scenario, this recipe effectively was used almost identically in the world of cryptocurrencies. And so effectively, we have this class of attacks that's quite large, which are known as cryptocurrency giveaway scams. And so the recipe here starts with an attacker setting up a web page advertising some sort of cryptocurrency giveaway or lottery event. If you haven't seen these, consider yourself lucky, but you will see them in screenshots up in the next slides. So these sites are effectively instructing users to send crypto to an address that is controlled by the attacker, right? And purportedly, because this is some sort of giveaway event, an event organized to popularize crypto and bring it to the masses, if you send 10 tokens to that address, you will get back 20 tokens, right? That's a giveaway event. That is how this is advertised. And so once these sites are set up, now the attacker has to drive traffic to them, right? And the more traffic you can drive, the better. And of course, we're still in nascent stages of cryptocurrency, so you can't just have every average person reaching that site. You need someone who will actually react to this event, someone who actually has crypto to send you crypto to get back double, supposedly, right? And so profit, then the last step is to profit from the fraction of users who fall for this scam. And so the cost of this is actually quite cheap. We're really talking about the price of a domain name, which can be like $1 if you go for new TLDs, or in general less than $10 even from traditional TLDs, and then cheap or altogether free hosting for your cryptocurrency site, depending on where you get it from. And so let me show you effectively how attackers drive traffic. So here we have 2 videos on YouTube. And if you're not familiar with Cardano and its token ADA, effectively this is the creator of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson. And what attackers are doing is the following. They take real interviews or real ask me anythings of cryptocurrencies. They take these videos and they actually embed them in a fake setting. So even though the video itself of the creator there, Charles, is real, the surrounding is not, right? And so you see that we have 2 videos where we have on the left Cardano ADA 2021.live. So this is the site where you're supposed to go to participate in the giveaway event. And on the right, you have events ada2021.com, which again is a separate site that is supposedly advertising some sort of popularizing and giveaway event. And so these are not just people who make a fresh account on YouTube and they start streaming. What they actually do is they compromise popular accounts with tens or hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And then they can actually go ahead and they can change the logo of the YouTube channel and start live streaming. And so suddenly you, as a novice user in cryptocurrencies, you want to know everything about Cardano, let's say. So you go to YouTube and you see this live event going on and you click on it and you actually see Charles Hoskinson, the creator, talking to you about this. And then you see on that page, you see this cryptocurrency giveaway event. And if you read there, you see, oh, if I just send 1,000 ADA, I'll get back 2,000 ADA. So maybe I wasn't too late with this cryptocurrency thing after all, right? Maybe today I can make life-changing money through this giveaway event, right? And so this is really how the scam works. And so if users are convinced to take that URL and type it into their browsers, then they will land on a page that looks like one of these 9 samples here. These are quite professionally made pages, which are using the pictures of the creators of cryptocurrency. So if this was an Ethereum attack, we would effectively be having, Vitalik Buterin's image and, the various creators of other cryptocurrencies, the ones that we know of at least. And again, there is some text there, very well, phrased, telling you about this giveaway event and inviting you to participate in this event. Okay, and there is a lot of interesting things going on here. So people use JavaScript to actually create fake transactions. So if you go to the bottom of these pages, you will see supposedly people already, interacting with this page and making life-changing money, but it's all just JavaScript code making fake transactions in the DOM of your browser, and showing you one address. And if you actually send money to that address, of course, the promise is that you'll get it back double. The reality, as you realize, is that you'll get back nothing, right? You will have lost your ADA or your cryptocurrency in general. And so today I will mostly be talking about Cardano and ADA because that was just kind of a project that I was interested in, and that's where I built my tool. But everything that I say holds true for all cryptocurrencies that you care about. So as members of the cryptocurrency, let's say, community, what can we do to protect users against these types of cryptocurrency scams, or in general, social engineering scams on crypto? Well, obviously, the first part is education, right? So you would want to keep warning users through regular public service announcements, right? Whether you do this in YouTube videos, in podcasts of cryptocurrency influencers, blog posts, social media. And the issue here is that if we believe that we're onboarding users every single day of every single week, you can't just do one PSA once and then decide that, okay, I've told everyone that these pages are fake, right? That's not how it works. You have to do this regularly, because there will always be a fraction of the population, fraction of the users of cryptocurrencies that will be hearing this for the first time. And so on the technology front, can we actually do something to protect users automatically, right? Even if they don't know that this is a scam, can we do something for them? And so ideas here are to potentially identify abusive domains as fast as possible, the backend infrastructure that attackers are using, wallet addresses belonging to attackers. We can initiate takedowns wherever possible. And of course, this may become much more tricky in Web3 than it was in Web2, right? If we're having block lists, we can start adding domains and potentially even wallet addresses to these block lists, and change our software to interface with these block lists. And so maybe I do not want to be stopping users from moving money to an address that I disapprove of, but perhaps I'm okay with showing them a warning that they will have to click away before sending money to the scammer. So this latter part is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So the background here is that I created the first Cardano Phishing Bot, so the phishing bot for detecting cryptocurrency giveaway scams for the Cardano blockchain. And so this phishing bot has been online since July of last year. And what this phishing bot does is effectively every time that my backend infrastructure finds a new scam, it actually tweets about it. So it tweets the domain, a timestamp, the IP address, the geolocation, the ASN, and the ISP of that new scam, together with a screenshot whenever possible. And if the promise here is that if you're a user, you can follow this bot and you will sort of realize and learn what these cryptocurrency giveaway scams are. But if you're a provider, well, maybe then you can see that, oh, I'm the ISP of something bad. Let me actually initiate takedown procedures for that something bad, right? So this is the purpose for this Cardano Phishing Bot. And we've actually been instrumental so far in tens of takedowns. I'm not keeping track of them anymore, by ISPs who actually care about this. So Namecheap, for instance, as you will see later, is quite on the ball about this. If there is a Cardano Phishing Bot report, Namecheap will typically act quite fast and take down the infrastructure of the site if it happens to be hosted on their servers. So let me tell you about how we actually discover these scams in the wild. And so the first part is effectively that we need a source of suspicious domains, right? We can't just sort of go around blindly in the dark, touching domain names and seeing if these are somehow malicious. We need a targeted method for discovering potentially suspicious cryptocurrency giveaway domains. And so we're using certificate transparency under the hood. And let me tell you about this. So if you think about certificate authorities, these are the companies effectively that give you certificates for your websites. If you prove that you are the real owner of food.com, then you will get an TLS certificate for food.com, and then you can set it up on your web server. And then when browsers visit food.com, they can establish the TLS protocol, so the users will see HTTPS over everything, right? And so certificate authorities have this very, very privileged place in our web ecosystem. However, there were many high-profile cases in early 2010s where certificate authority companies were actually broken into. So they were compromised, typically because of bad security practices. And so there is like Komodo and DigiNotar that are very popular and known events of these CA compromises. And then there were also actually misbehaving and misconfigured certificate authority companies, where they were doing things that were not really broken into, but they were doing things that they were not supposed to, like issuing certificates for large companies that never asked for a certificate, giving someone an intermediate certificate that never asked for an intermediate certificate. So they were really not careful of this very, very privileged position of all the trust that the web had put in them, on them. So the problem with all of this is that at the time, the only way to find out that something bad had happened was to sort of somehow learn about the compromise, right? Oh, like a month later, I found out there was a bad guy on my network, right? Or potentially find out that a certificate suddenly for google.com that google.com has not issued is being used in the wild, and you can find this via revocation procedures, and then you can sort of trace this back and find out that the CA was compromised 2 months ago, right? So this was the state of affairs in the early 2010s. And so people didn't like that and said, okay, can we actually do something about this? issuing certificates should not be a secret, right? The fact that today I, as a CA, I'm minting, pun not intended, a new certificate for food.com should not be a secret. Everyone in the world should know that right now, with this timestamp, I issued a certificate for food.com. And so certificate transparency is exactly that. It's a program run by large internet companies where effectively CAs are mandated to announce to the world via these append-only log servers that they're creating certificates for specific endpoints, right? And then browsers can actually test and see, I see a new certificate for food.com, it is cryptographically valid, but was it actually part of the certificate transparency? Like, have you told certificate transparency that you have issued this certificate, right? And so as we're approaching, as we're moving on and getting updates in the browsers, more and more browsers will actually support this, and Chrome supports this, and Apple supports this. Apple Safari and Firefox will presumably support this in the very near future, effectively making certificate transparency mandatory, right? You cannot be a CA and not participate in certificate transparency. It's not up to you anymore. And so now the uses of certificate transparency was that were that if I am a company, I can monitor these log servers, and if I ever see someone issuing a certificate for a domain that I control, well, I can raise an alert. Something bad just happened. I know it wasn't me getting a certificate. Someone else did this. You can actually also find potentially variations of your domain, such as in squatting scenarios, and you can find all of this by getting access to this constant stream of issued certificates. So I have this screenshot there, a little video that I will play for you. And so this is kind of in real time, right? These are all the certificate announcements on a certificate transparency server happening in real time. And so this shows you just the amount of data that's flying through your screen, right? These are all new certificates that were issued for new subdomains or new domains at the time of the video recording. And so the alternative uses of certificate transparency is that we can actually potentially identify phishing sites now that abuse trademarks, right? Let me actually, I'll trigger some sort of crawling whenever I find a domain name that contains the word PayPal, right? Or contains the word Dropbox, because that may very well be a phishing site as opposed to searching for a certificate issuing for Dropbox.com, right? And we can potentially identify targets for attacks. That's more from the attacker's perspective, where they can abuse certificate transparency, and that's a talk for a different day. So we are actually in the Cardano Phishing Bot. We're using DNS zone files a little bit. Probably I can touch on this on the question if anyone has one. But we're using certificate transparency logs as our main driver for discovering domains that are potentially cryptocurrency giveaway scams. And so now you can't actually, or at least I can't actually, crawl every single domain appearing on certificate transparency, because we're dealing with tens of millions of certificate announcements per day. So you have to be selective, right? And so pretty much via trial and error, we identified a number of keywords that were almost always part of these domain names that attackers were registering, right? So if there is a domain name out there that has the word Cardano in it, right, and it was just issued a new certificate, well, that's a domain that I want to scan, right? If it has Ada or Hoskinson or typos of all of these words in them, that's a domain I want to scan, right? But alternatively, if there is a domain that uses keywords associated with the cryptocurrency, let's say keywords of popular software wallets or keywords of a recent update in the infrastructure, then I also want to scan these. And so how the phishing bot works today is it have effectively a two-phase crawling. The first one is a lightweight crawl where we quickly grab a copy of the page that contains, whose domain contains these keywords. And then if now this page actually contains more keywords that are associated with this, with scams, then we will actually send a full browser to you to crawl you and grab a screenshot so that we can then embed it in our report. And so there you can see on the figure on the right that this doesn't always work perfect, right? So if we have Canada.com, right? Canada.com has the word Ada in it. I sort of discovered this. I didn't expect this, but there it was. So there's all these words that contain the word Ada. There are all these phrases and domains that contain the word Ada in them that are not necessarily phishing cryptocurrency related. So this is an imperfect filter, but it's a filter nonetheless. So once we do effectively this crawling of these sites, now we need to classify them, right? This would be a very, very noisy signal if anything that was effectively crawled would then be reported on Twitter. And at the moment, and at this time, this effectively requires a manual part. And I perform that manual part. Effectively, we have a dashboard that every day, with my coffee, I look at yesterday's reports found automatically by the bot, and then I can sort of verify or discard alerts that happened yesterday. And so there are reasons, again, that I discovered in the wild for false positives. So Cardano is a proof of stake blockchain. People are running stake pools sometimes to get you to join their stake pool as opposed to someone else's stake pool. Stake pool operators run lottery events. And so now you have a site that says lottery, stake pool, Cardano. So it uses all the right keywords for a scam, but it's actually not a scam, right? You have personal blogs, of course, talking about Cardano, gambling sites that are using cryptocurrencies under the hood, and under construction and parking pages that just have all the right words peppered in them. And so there is a manual phase to all of this. And in the future, it can be, of course, automated or at least assisted with machine learning. And this can be more and more doable as we're collecting more and more data on this. And so let me talk to you a little bit about the data in this last 1 year. So our infrastructure scans approximately 20K domains per day. And so these are effectively the new domains that were discovered today plus yesterday's domain names, to make sure that something that appeared yesterday perhaps was set up 12 hours later, we can still catch it. And so in this 1 year, we have discovered 1,300 true positives. So these are true domain names that attackers set up for performing these giveaway scams. And the average is 3.6 domains per day, but of course that average is not particularly helpful. As you can see, we have a very different day-to-day behavior on the chart on the bottom. And so on the left, you can see that we have a lot of activity, a lot of scams discovered almost every day by the bot. But as we're progressing in time, we actually see lower levels of cryptocurrency giveaway scam activity. And I've drawn this sort of mental break on that graph of April of this year, which I would consider, let's say, the current crypto bear market. And there I see clearly fewer scams than before, right? And so there we really see that attackers are going after money at the end of the day. And so now if your tokens are much less valuable than they used to be, well, maybe I can spend my time stealing something else. Maybe I'm not going to steal ADA because it hasn't recovered in the bear market. I'm going to steal Ethereum, or I'm going to potentially, again, do something else if I'm in the process of setting up infrastructure online. And so here is the types of domain names that attackers are setting up, and we are discovering automatically. So if you focus, let's say, on the first row, you will see, again, this combo squatting idea. We're getting trademarks, we're combining them with other words, and we are registering them. So we have Charles, which is the Charles Hoskinson, the creator, charles22.net, Cardano Give 2021, CEO Cardano.pro, right? Then you have a lot of domains with the word ADA in them, the word event, the word giveaway. And if you look at the, let's say, bottom row of this slide, you will see Yoroi Wallet Web, which is, again, a wallet, like MetaMask, but for Cardano and ADA. And so these are phishing sites that may be trying to sort of steal your money via giveaway scam, or may equally likely be trying to steal your seed phrase so they can just directly empty your wallet. And so attackers, of course, they are very happy to try anything and everything to separate you from your funds. So if we look a little bit at the backend infrastructure of these scams, there on the left, we have the hosting providers. And so you'll see there that in the top three, we have effectively the same company appearing twice because they operate two different ASNs. So this is DDoS Guard. This is a DDoS, anti-DDoS company that's located in Russia. It shouldn't be there in terms of percentages, right? They are not such a big company. So you can draw your own conclusions from this. I did send them an email early on saying, hey, these 5 giveaway scams are located on your networks. Perhaps you want to do something about this. They never answered me. And you have Cloudflare, which is, people want to hide their origin servers. So they will try to use an anti-DDoS provider, even if that means that they are under that provider's thumb and they could go away anytime that this provider discovers them. And on the right, we have the corresponding countries. And again, Russia, because of the footprint of DDoS Guard, is by far the most prevalent geolocation for hosting these types of scam infrastructure. So now the beautiful thing about this is that, of course, you have the phishing site, but that phishing site now has a wallet address. And that wallet address, now you can go into the blockchain and you can find out what has happened to it, right? And so here so far in this 1 year worth of data, we crawled 236 wallet addresses from these 1,300 domain names. And there is a reason, or multiple reasons, for this asymmetry, right? So first of all, this extraction of wallet addresses was not happening from the beginning. It's something that I introduced later on as a feature in the code. We do have an adversarial setting, right? So it's not like everyone is happy to announce their addresses statically in HTML. So if there is advanced obfuscation going on, my crawlers may not be able to automatically extract this. And for some of them, there's actually reuse of wallet addresses, right? A scammer that registers 10 domain names may choose to actually have that same address in all 10 domain names, right? As a way of simplifying his life and his cash out. And so 117 of these 236 wallet addresses, they have available transactions, which means that we can actually go in the blockchain and we can see the transactions. And here on the graph on the right, you can see the distribution of these transactions. So 50% of these wallets, they had up to 5 transactions, right? So not a lot of activity, but activity nonetheless, right? But this is clearly a right skewed distribution, because you can see that the most successful scams out there, they can get tens, hundreds, if not thousands of transactions in their wallets, right? And so this really has to do with how you drive traffic to your scam page and how much of that traffic you're driving and how convincing of a case you're making. So we can actually look into these wallets and we can see how much ADA was stolen. And so we're typically looking at a range of between almost like less than 2 ADA, so not enough for bubblegum, all the way to 242,000 ADA, right? So really serious money, regardless of the current bear market, with an average amount of ADA stolen at 24,000 ADA and a median of 8.5. And again, these are different because of the right skew distribution. If you convert these ADA amounts to dollars, using a range of $0.50, which is roughly today's date, to the highest rate of $2, we're talking about stealing between a few $1,000s all the way to almost $500,000, right, for the most popular scam out there. And so again, very serious life-changing money. And as we heard this morning, once this money is stolen, typically it will be shot off to some sort of a mixer or another service in order for the attacker to somehow try to off-ramp these stolen funds and do something with them. And so that graph there on the bottom of the slide shows you the amount of ADA remaining in the wallets of scammers. And so there you will see that pretty much almost everyone empties out their wallets. So once they steal the money, they move them somewhere else. There is one wallet with a few tens of thousands of ADA in them. And I don't really have an explanation for this. Maybe the guy was hit by a bus. Maybe he lost his private keys. But these funds are still available in the wallet associated with specific cryptocurrency giveaway scam. And so we can look at the relationship between number of transactions and total ADA received. So there you see that we have a somewhat linear relationship, where, of course, the more transactions you have, the more total ADA is stolen. But there are outliers that are bucking this trend. So if you look there, roughly at the middle of this graph, you will see this one point where we have a site that had about 20-ish transactions, but stole this 242,000 ADA that we talked about earlier. And in terms of reuses, we have 72% of scammers that are not reusing addresses, but we do have some who are reusing them. And in my data set so far in this 1 year, I found that the most reuse is happening 8 times. So one scammer is reusing his one specific wallet address across 8 scams. And so to give you a sense of a little bit of how these look and how they feel, I have the 3 most successful case studies to show you. The first one is adagive21.net. So this was discovered in November of last year. It's located in Russia. And on the wallet, on the blockchain, we can find 15 transactions totaling to 165K ADA. And again, using the $0.50 to $2 range, this translates to between 80K to $330,000 in terms of money stolen. And there's 0 ADA left on the wallet. The second most popular one was getAda22.net, January of this year, also located in Russia behind the DDoS guard, anti-DDoS provider. 35 transactions, 175,000 ADA stolen. You can see the screenshot there on the right, using the face of Charles Hoskinson telling you about this giveaway of $100 million ADA, and then inviting you to participate in it. And then again, 0 ADA left on the wallet. And finally, the most successful scam in my data set is across 5 sites, as you can see there, located in Europe and in the US. And this had a total of 26 transactions with a 242,000 ADA stolen that can go up to $500,000 using the $2 per coin maximum that ADA reached last year. And also this has 0 ADA left on the wallet of this address. And so these sites actually are master classes of social engineering. So other than the JavaScript that I mentioned to you earlier, They are actually using a chat service. So they're using chat as a service. And so you are able to, as a user, you're able to interact with the scammer in real time. Like, hey, is this a real event? Is this really happening? And they can tell you, yes, it's really happening. Go ahead, make money. And in addition to that, they actually provide you typically a range of ADA you can send. So they don't say, send any ADA you want and we'll double it, because then you'll send, one ADA and you will lose today $50. Okay, fine, right? But they tell you, you should send between 1,000 ADA and 1,000,000 ADA, right? So you can't test this without actually losing a lot of money. If you send less than 1,000 ADA, did they not send you back double because you send less, or because this is a scam, right? So they have figured out how to maximize the scam power, let's say, towards real users. The reactions have been mixed. So like I mentioned earlier, there are certain ISPs and registrars who are very, very much on the ball. A new report goes out, they tell us immediately on Twitter, hey, thank you for letting us know, we've taken this down, right? Last year, I reported a few of these domains to Cloudflare because they were the ISP. And I had like 2 rounds of communications, and the other person on the other line would not understand why this is a scam, right? So again, there is this break in people's mind, like, why is this a scam, right? And it doesn't look like a scam. There's nothing for me to download. There is no form for me for phishing. It doesn't say that it's Dropbox or PayPal. I just see a site. Why is this a scam? Tell me more, right? So we really, again, I believe that today things are different, but at least a year ago, people were not necessarily on board and understanding with what a cryptocurrency giveaway scam looks like and why it's bad. And so, we have limitations and challenges like everyone. So pretty much the evasion of our web crawlers is always possible. So you could try to fingerprint our IP address. You can try to fingerprint the crawler itself. You potentially may not try to fingerprint any of that. If you're using a CDN that is turning a blind eye, then they can do this detection of bots as a service to you. And so far, we are doing a best effort of picking user agents at random and doing other things. But of course, this is an arms race, as it was in the regular Web 2. There is JavaScript-based obfuscation, which attackers can use to effectively hide their keywords, their wallets. And if you just decide to throw a full version of Chrome or Firefox to everything, you will need much more horsepower on your servers than if you have this 2-phase crawling approach that we're using. And if you have a site that says, besttoolsonline.net, and this is, let's say, a Cardano giveaway scam, we will not find this because there is no mention of the Cardano blockchain in the domain itself. But what we have found empirically is that attackers are definitely choosing to register domains that are similar and related to the blockchains that they're attacking. And so in conclusion, we are observing that attackers are pivoting from using crypto, let's say in a ransomware setting, to actually stealing crypto, because crypto is becoming much more valuable and more regular users have crypto that can be stolen from them. And this can be stolen via technical and non-technical attacks. All the social engineering problems of the Web 2 web are new again. And like I mentioned earlier, crypto giveaway scams, they actually break the mold of malicious content. And so if you're relying on your old infrastructure that was finding phishing sites and hoping that this will automatically find giveaway scams, you're in for a surprise. And so there is a lot of space here to innovate. And so like we did, you can build automated solutions for finding these scams in the wild. And then you can curate large data sets that can be useful to the community, to law enforcement, to identify and stop more attacks. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to take them.